So the Cracker Barrel backlash is still getting worse as the company still faces massive outrage and anger after a failed rebrand, and customers are still walking away fast. You see, Cracker Barrel is facing consequences right now from a failed rebrand, as you all know, that's driving customers away and tanking sales. Now, Cracker Barrel hired the same marketing firm behind the Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney campaign, and loyal diners are still furious over the direction of the company itself. So yeah, Cracker Barrel's leadership is under fire still, once again, as investors question the strategy and demand answers. Now, with Cracker Barrel simply losing its identity and money and struggling to recover, the future of the brand is on the line. So you see, Cracker Barrel's leadership thought that, they could modernize the brand and attract younger crowds by simply changing the logo, remodeling restaurants, as you all know, and gutting everything that made the place feel like home. Now, as you all know, they continue to alienate their base and fail to bring in the audience that they were chasing. So, in other words, they just brought back the old logo, but still keeping up with everything else, keeping it the same. Transactions still plummeting almost immediately after the new logo dropped on August 19th, and even Bloomberg data showed that the sales drop wasn't temporary, it actually sped up, leaving a number of restaurants like one in Georgia somewhere like just dead for a week. Okay, now meanwhile, Cracker Barrel's loyal diners didn't just walk away quietly. You see, they made their anger loud and clear online. Now, people accuse the chain of abandoning its roots, chasing trends, and simply disrespecting traditional Americana. Now, it was basically just a rejection of the entire customer base that built Cracker Barrel's success in the first place. Employees were put in emergency meetings where corporate begged them not to quit and stuff, promising that the guests will come back. But guess what? I mean, speaking of that, someone actually commented on last night's video about a situation that happened at their, local Cracker Barrel where they're working, where the people who work there want to please the customers, but the leadership are telling them to do one thing and also not telling them to fully do and stuff, only to tell them that they're doing cutbacks and they're losing their bonuses, all thanks to Karen's CEO. Okay, and at the same time, regulars aren't returning when they feel the company doesn't value them anymore. Okay, but there's also the issue with the company of Viral Nation, the marketing firm at the center of this disaster, and this is the same agency responsible for the Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney campaign, as you all remember. One of the most notorious brand implosions in recent memory. You see, Cracker Barrel hired them anyway. They greenlit the influencer-driven pop-up events in New York City, sent most social media personalities to promote the brand, and thought it would appeal to younger audiences. Now, instead, it came off as staged, disconnected, and fake. And just like Bud Light, Cracker Barrel underestimated how loyal customers would react to being ignored. All right. Now, the CEO, Taco Julie, as some call her, the Karen CEO, is taking heat from all sides. Employees don't respect her. Investors are questioning her decisions, and customers are still livid. People are openly asking how she still has a job after driving the company into a free fall, myself included. Her leadership style, carried over from Taco Bell days, doesn't align with what Cracker Barrel's audience expects. Now, at the same time, she decided to go ahead and make these moves to also appease to those who are on the West Coast, the Portland, Oregon, and the Southern California type of crowds and stuff, using Latinx influencers to go ahead and promote the brand. Huh? But simply put, the quality dropped, the menu changes backfired, and the rollout of these campaigns shows a complete disconnect from the core identity of the brand itself. You see, stockholders are feeling it too. Cracker Barrel's shares have created 10% system rebrand, and that's just the beginning. Brand perception data from the Morning Consult, as I told you all before, shows unfavorable views jumping from 10% to 25% in just 2 days after the logo launch. That means 1 in 4 U.S. adults now have a negative opinion of Cracker Barrel. See, compare that to American Eagle's Great Jeans ad with Sydney Sweeney, okay, which actually, faced its own online backlash. You see, American Eagle didn't collapse. They didn't abandon their identity, but Cracker Barrel did. And guess what? They paid the price. You see, Cracker Barrel's problem simply goes deeper than logos and restaurant decor. Now, this is an identity crisis driven by leadership decisions that ignored customer loyalty. The company tried to modernize its image while simply expanding into expensive West Coast markets. But honestly, those areas didn't connect with the brand and operating costs were higher than expected. Now, instead of just simply, adjusting strategy or changing strategy, Cracker Barrel doubled down, alienating the loyal diners in the South and Midwest while failing to gain traction elsewhere in places like California and New York. The remodels made things worse, of course, where the stores traded warm, rustic interiors for sterile white walls, brighter lighting, and fewer nostalgic touches. And you see, Cracker Barrel assumed that younger audiences wanted modern vibes, but honestly, they misunderstood their draw entirely. You see, people went there for the experience, the rocking chairs, hash brown casseroles, and Southern charm. Strip those away, and Cracker Barrel simply becomes just another forgettable chain. It's as simple as that. Now, Cracker Barrel's partnerships with Viral Nation, Profit, and Blue Engine were supposed to go ahead and reimagine the brand, but instead they delivered the opposite. The official press release bragged about, simply just creating high volume social content and evolving the brand's positioning within culture. But none of it connected. You see, Viral Nation's TikTok heavy strategy missed the core customer completely, and the influencers they brought didn't reflect the people who actually eat there. You see, it was all corporate virtue signaling dressed up as marketing. All right. Now, this entire fiasco mirrors what's happening to Disney, and Cracker Barrel simply tried to go ahead and chase a modern audience while abandoning the very families and travelers who built their brand. That's why you're seeing the same generational loyalty collapse here. Now, if parents and grandparents stop taking their kids to Cracker Barrel, those kids don't grow up with memories of playing the peg game or sitting around the fireplace. No. Once that link is broken, rebuilding it becomes nearly impossible. But investors are growing restless too. You see, the company's largest shareholder, Sardar Beglari, has been critical of Cracker Barrel's direction for years. And behind the scenes, the tensions are rising and proxy battles are being floated as options. The leadership promised growth, but the numbers don't support it. And stockholders are simply losing patience as the value erodes. Now, if this continues, boardroom changes are definitely inevitable. Okay. But honestly, what makes this even worse is just their refusal to admit failure. You see, Cracker Barrel simply reversed the logo quickly, but has doubled down on the remodeling plans, signaling they still think this modernization strategy will actually pay off. That's the same mistake Bud Light made with Dylan Mulvaney, simply ignoring the backlash, pretending that the customers were the problem, and waiting for the storm to pass. Now, that storm hasn't passed for Bud Light at all, and it won't for Cracker Barrel either, if they don't change direction. I mean, it's actually quite simple. You see, Cracker Barrel's leadership simply needs to realize that you can't buy loyalty with influencers and hashtags. Viral Nation told them that they could, and they believed it, but this is not a digital brand. You see, Cracker Barrel's strength simply has always been its identity, nostalgia, comfort, tradition, and by trying to turn themselves into something they're not, I mean, they've alienated their core audience while gaining nothing in return. But yeah, simply put, the path forward is not complicated. Stop chasing trends, reconnect with loyal diners, and restore what made Cracker Barrel special. But that won't happen until either the leadership owns the failure and stops outsourcing the brand's future to firms that don't understand it, or just simply get the boot. Now, hiring the same people who blew up Bud Light's image and expecting a different outcome simply shows just how out of touch the current strategy really is. Okay, but yeah, for right now, I mean, Cracker Barrel's fate simply hangs on, whether the leadership is willing to admit that they've lost their way. Now, either way, the numbers, the backlash, and the investor pressure all points to the same conclusion. Stop trying to be something you're not, or prepare to lose everything that made Cracker Barrel iconic. Now, honestly, the audience has spoken, and if corporate doesn't listen, this brand will not recover. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Be sure to smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell for future uploads, notifications, and I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace.